live from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:03. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. It is Wednesday, January 16th. 27 degrees out there. It's not bad. You know, it's kind of balmy. Yeah, it feels not too bad. We've had some chilly weather this week.
Yeah,
but
we're going to get above freezing again today.
Yeah, so not too bad at all. It's not windy or anything like that, so you don't have to worry about that. And apparently the sun is coming out later on. We don't know these things. It's still pitch black out there right now.
Yeah, until halfway through the show.
Right, exactly. And my back is to the window, so I can't see the light anyway. That other voice that you hear is Pete Coles, the chairman of the board and our great producer. So good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
So, Pete, normally we talk about what's happened in our lives since we last met, which was last Wednesday.
Yes.
So what were you up to? What did you do this weekend? Anything exciting?
I went to Babe Ruth headquarters for a weekend's kind of a skull session meeting to kind of go over what went wrong last year and what went right. And there's going to be different key people in different places this year. So we're trying to figure out clear lines of sight and rules of order and things like that, so we don't have a free-for-all.
Now, this is at the local. This is Babe Ruth at the local level.
No, this is Babe Ruth at the national level.
At the national level. Oh, yes. This is like World Series Babe Ruth kind of stuff.
This is World Series stuff. Yeah.
So where did you go for this?
Their headquarters is down in New Jersey. We were in Cherry Hill.
Oh, okay. So, I'm a Jersey girl. I know where that is.
About a 4-hour drive.
Yeah.
So I think their headquarters are in Princeton.
Yep.
No, it's about 20 minutes from Cherry Hill, so it's not that far.
Yeah, so it's right in that Princeton area.
Yeah. So we did. We met down in Cherry Hill. We toured the site for the new 8-year-old player pitch, because 3 regions of the country at 8 years old do player pitch, and the rest of the regions do machine pitch. So last year we had them all together. There was a lot of thing about, the kids that are player pitch. So all the player pitch leagues are on the Eastern Coast. They're New England, Mid-Atlantic, and Ohio. So they can all come to Cherry Hill.
Okay.
So we're going to have a series going on there. The final week of everything down in Florida. I'm leaving the final week of Florida to come here to do a World Series here. So there's a lot of moving parts
As in here in Westfield
yes,
here?
Yes, Westfield here.
So Westfield is going to host the World Series this year.
13-year-old the World Series, yeah.
I'm surprised that I haven't heard more about that.
Oh, yeah,
because usually by now they're looking for volunteers. That'll be coming up soon, I
We got a late start because we were asked to do it. We didn't put in for it.
I don't know that I knew that.
A community backed out. 2 communities backed out.
Oh, wow.
So we had a choice of what we wanted to do. And our local president, Dan Welch, has always wanted to do a 13-year-old.
When Pete, when we hosted the World Series a few years ago, what was the age group?
14.
Okay, so this is a year younger.
Yeah, you can host 13, 14, 15. There's a 16-18 World Series, and then there's a grouping of a 13-15 World Series. So,
Okay.
so you can do any of those 4 or 5.
And when will the World Series be here in Westfield this summer?
Tentatively, it's usually starts around August 8th or 9th.
Okay. So
And
kind of
goes for
middle of
about
the month
9
a little
days.
bit. Okay.
Yep.
And always brings some good business to our area.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Right now, we're still in the process of getting corporate sponsorships, things like that.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it should be fun.
All right, and I know that they will be looking for volunteers because
Yes.
a few years ago when we did it, they were looking for volunteers. So we'll
Yes, this
we'll
fall-
have somebody on the show seeking volunteers, and that'll be just fine.
Our current volunteer coordinator is speaking to Chris Kazotis, who pulled it off last time. So
Well, and so I'm thinking Chris will probably be calling or emailing me soon,
she's out of
saying,
it. She's out of it.
She's out of it
She's
now.
out of it. Yeah. So there's a lot of new faces.
So we have a new. Okay.
So she's kind of
right.
consulting.
Okay, well, and that's fine. She can consult from the sidelines and
Yeah.
try to help to walk somebody through.
A lot of the board members from last time had children around that age or just
Yes,
out of that age,
yes.
and now they're way out of that age.
Yeah.
So
Now they're in high school and
now there's a whole
beyond,
new
and-
crew. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be able to pull it off. So that was a busy weekend. So were you down there the whole weekend or just one day? Did you
I
go down?
was
Did you
there
drive down and back on the same
Friday.
day?
No, down there on Friday. Stayed overnight. Friday night. We all day meetings on Saturday.
Got it.
Had dinner with the whole crew. It was like 25 of us. They flew in or drove in from around the country.
Okay.
And then we all kind of headed back on Sunday.
Well, it sounds fun. Sounds
I
like
made
it
it
was a
back in
fun
time for the
weekend.
Patriots game. So
Well, let's talk about those Patriots. So they were running a clinic on Sunday there, doing
I was
very well.
surprised. Honestly.
I was surprised at how well executed.
Because
it was.
how they've been
Yeah.
playing and all the mental mistakes and things like that, and all of a sudden they
were-
come on, they're a different team,
They
and
were
I'm
on
like,
top of their game.
well, okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yes. Yeah. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
And, John Vilas, if you're listening this morning, because John was over at the Senior Center on Friday. He called bingo for us.
I saw that,
And,
so he posted a picture of it.
Did he?
Yes.
I didn't. Well, it was funny because he was over there Friday, and so I had on my Patriots garb. It was casual Friday for the city, so of course I was wearing my Patriots thing, and I have to admit that I wore it because I really wasn't sure how well they were going to do, and I thought, well, this might be the last time I'm wearing this season. So, and John said, "Oh, I don't know, Tina. I don't think they're going to be able to pull this off." And I said, "Well, we'll just have to see." But
Well, because you didn't have that confidence.
yeah, you know,
going in
they
from
don't
the-
have quite the confidence that we had before. So this ought to be a really interesting game on Sunday at Kansas City,
Yeah.
which is that always makes it a little dicey. And Kansas City's hungry.
The best game of the weekend was the Eagles game.
Yeah, the other games were pretty awful. They were quite lopsided. I thought the games the
Yeah.
weekend before, last weekend, were great. I mean, there were some really exciting.
Dallas had a good game. Dallas had a good game, but they could never get really started.
Yeah, they just couldn't get their rhythm.
Yeah, they couldn't get us
They
started.
just couldn't get their rhythm. I just felt most of the games were really one-sided, with the exception of the Eagles game.
yeah.
So it should be a couple of good games this weekend.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that.
And I think even if they don't win this weekend, they had a good season.
Yeah,
Considering all the issues and
yes,
problems and everything.
Yes,
And
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see. They've pulled off the miracles before. We'll see if they can do it again.
As the commissioner said, they've lived to play another week.
There you go. It's one and done now. So that's what you hope for. So, good stuff. Good times.
So what were you up to?
Well, Gary and I were doing something different. We were moving someone.
Again?
We are.
Wait a minute.
Somebody said we could go into like the moving business.
I think so. You
I'm
should
thinking that
hang
we
out a
had.
shingle.
So here's what happened, Pete. So some of you, if you've been following the story of our daughter Grace, who spent almost 2 years living in Florida and then decided that she wanted to be closer to family and good friends, and she missed Plymouth. She did not miss the winters, but I think she missed everything else about Plymouth because she really loved living there. So she
Nice
decided
community,
yeah, it's a great community. And it's a perfect community for Grace. So she decided to move back. So we moved her back Labor Day weekend, recall the old flying down, driving back and, getting her. But the problem was in a good way, it was a problem. She had landed a full-time job, which we were really excited about because the whole time she was in Florida, she couldn't do better than a part-time job. She got a full-time job with benefits. Very excited about that. In Pembroke, which is north of Plymouth, just north of Plymouth. And because it was right around that Labor Day, the college students already had lined up their off-campus housing because there are a lot of colleges in that area.
Yep.
So she had very little to pick from. And, she was kind of desperate because it's like, I got a job and I start on a certain day and I have to have a place to live. So she found a place that was in Manomet, which is near Whitehorse Beach, which I think when she was moving up from Florida, she was thinking, oh, this will be really nice. I'm going to be living right near the beach. But of course, living near the beach in November, December, January, February, March is, like you might as well not live near the beach. And it was farther away from her job than she really wanted. And it was a little bit more expensive than she really could afford. So as soon as she moved, and she was just on a month-to-month. So as soon as she moved, she was already starting to look for something that was closer to work, actually closer to the downtown, because, most of her activities on the weekend are in downtown Plymouth with her friends. So really struggled with trying to find some affordable housing.
Yep.
And so we were looking, the two of us were looking, because we were doing a lot online. So I was kind of checking Craigslist. She was checking all these different Plymouth sites. And just in between Christmas and New Year's, I found something on Craigslist. So I texted Grace and I said, this looks legitimate, because you got to be kind of careful. Not all of them are.
Yep.
She always took someone with her if she was going to go see a place, just, to make sure. Anyway, turns out this was just a great find. And the guy that was looking for an apartment mate, his apartment mate had moved out rather suddenly, and he really couldn't afford it on his own. So, and it was, honestly, Pete, I think she got it because it was between Christmas and New Year's. And I think people were preoccupied with other things and kind of weren't paying attention. And so she she got it. And so last week, and not this past weekend, but the weekend before, Gary and I took a couple of days. We drove out there, and we moved most of her stuff. We helped her to move most of her stuff, primarily because we hadn't had any snow yet.
Right,
and we had to rent a U-Haul for her bedroom. It's mostly bedroom stuff, but still, it was, it's a double bed and a mattress and box spring and all that other good stuff. So my big goal was to get that stuff moved in the truck before the first snowflakes fell, because I knew we were just really lucking out to move somebody in January, which was my biggest fear.
I remember moving City Hall in January.
Yes. Yeah.
On borrowed time.
Know what it's like. It was funny because when we went out there last week, and I don't know if you remember, but Saturday was the day when it just poured rain all day long. Well, we actually had the truck for Sunday. So Saturday, Gary was in the new place cleaning, and I was in the old place helping Grace pack. And then Sunday we did the bulk of it. And then we didn't get everything finished, and we had told her we would come back out this past weekend just for one day, for Saturday. And honestly, that was kind of fun because we hung the curtains and we did put the stuff on the walls and kind of made it look really homey and cozy, and she loves it. She's got a great apartment mate. So she is moved and settled. It was really funny because on the way over there, I had Gary and I had gone over to Home Depot last weekend to get some of the plastic bins. They were on sale. So I go to the checkout, and the woman says to me, "Oh, organizing, are we?" And I said, "No, we're moving my daughter for about the umpteenth time." And she started laughing, and she said, "You know what?" She said, "I did the same thing with my daughter when she graduated from college." She said, we moved her in and out of college every year, and then she graduated, and then we moved her a couple times. She said, "We finally stopped moving her when she bought a house." So I went out there and I said to Grace, "Save your money and please buy a house so we can stop moving." We do it one more time, and that's it. So she settled. But that was the weekend. And then Sunday, I had to work because I'm my deadline on the newsletter, the newsletter is going to be coming out. So I actually was in there, and our senior safety officer, Mark Carbonneau, he worked over the weekend. So Mark was in there for a little while as well. And then I went home to watch the game with Gary. And then I went back to the senior center because I hadn't finished what I needed to finish. So it was a busy weekend.
Well, I coming back through, my brother texted me. I'm in New York State, and he goes, "Where are you?" He goes, "We're at a tournament at the Connecticut Convention Center with his son playing a volleyball tournament."
Okay, where's the Connecticut? Is that in Hartford?
In Hartford.
Okay.
So his fiance had gone down there, and she needed to get back for her son's game in Wilbraham at 3:00, and they only had one car, and she was going to ditch him, and he's going to try to find a ride with friends, and I'm like. He's like, well, why don't you come here and watch the volleyball match with me? If they win, they'll play it too. I'm like, no, I'm 4.5 hours on the road. I'm not watching a volleyball match.
I don't think so. Right, exactly.
I said, but I will swing by and pick up Wendy on the way through if you want me to do that, because I wasn't planning on going that way, but I'll change my course.
Yep. So
that's what I ended up doing, and then they ended up losing, so he was about an hour behind me.
Oh, there you go.
But she goes, you know what? If you didn't pick me up, they would have won.
There you go.
And well, it's good for them, but it's bad for their logistics. So.
Yes, exactly. So it all worked out, Pete.
Yeah, so I'm in Hartford picking up somebody. I'm driving home. Like,
you were a good brother.
Lord.
You were a good brother. That's what families do. That's why Grace wanted to move back home from Florida, because she realized while she was down there, families are there for each other.
Support system.
It's a good support system.
He's just lucky I decided to change my course.
And there you go. There you go. All right. It is 6:16. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses. So Pete and I have caught up with what we've been doing over the last week or so. Our guest this morning will be Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, our resident primary care physician with Family Medicine Associates.
He's out in the bullpen out there.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
And the topic for the day is going to be what else? Flu and colds and pneumonia and all this stuff that's going all around our Northeast area. So we will be back. We're going to listen to The Doctor by the Doobie Brothers.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
Underwriting for WSKB's community radio programming is brought to you in part by Dunkin' Donuts, providing new handcrafted espresso drinks and all-day breakfast sandwiches. There's more to love with DD Perks, a loyalty program that's loyal to you. On the web at dunkindonuts.com and at several locations throughout Westfield, including the Ely Campus Center.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Discussions of local politics, events, happenings, and miscellany potpourri. That's what you'll find on Ken's Den, Tuesdays from 8 till 10.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:22. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM.
Grab one of the other ones.
Radio for the Westfield
That's one of the ones that
masses.
doesn't have a headphone that works.
Okay,
Sorry.
No, that's okay. We're playing with. Oh yeah, that was the broken one.
Yeah, that was
we're
one of the
playing with
broken ones.
headphones. Is that good?
That's
you
much
got
better.
that, Dr. Lovelace. So, our guest this morning is our resident primary care physician, Dr. Akinyele Lovelace. Now, Dr. Lovelace, we have not seen you since Christmas. So
Yeah, Happy
we
New
need
Year,
to do a
everybody.
little recap because the last time you were here, you were sporting that Christmas tree
Yes.
blazer, which, by the way, I had a meeting with your wife because we had a friends meeting the same day, and she was mortified to know that you not only wore that onto the radio show, but that you had an important meeting that day over at Bay State that you were
did.
going to be wearing that.
I
And
did.
Christina actually had absolutely no voice at that Friends board meeting last month.
Yep,
So
yep.
she was squeaking her, displeasure, and we were hysterically laughing. And I assured her that I thought you'd be the hit of the meeting and not to be at all embarrassed.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, when I got to the meeting, they asked if I had the pants to go with it. Actually.
Oh, there you
that was
go.
kind of the topic of the meeting.
I almost called you too, you and
Yeah.
Patrick Berry, because I was at TJ Maxx about a week after Christmas, and they had all of their Christmas garb on sale.
right. That's when you
and they
usually get it.
had, some amazing blazers. They actually had the Christmas tree one, but then they had some other ones and
Yeah.
some wonderful sweaters and vests. And I thought, I was almost called you and Patrick to say, time to do your shopping for next year because everything's like, 75% off.
It's so worth the
It's a
investment.
steal. It
It's
is
so
worth the investment. In
investment.
fact, if they have any left, I may go back and pick something up for Gary for
Awesome.
next year.
That's awesome.
So, so how was Christmas for you
Christmas
and
was
the women
fantastic.
and the girls in your life?
It was great. They got to spend some time with their grandparents, which I think was awesome.
Wonderful.
So that gave mom some time to relax and just kind of have some peace.
Yes.
So I think that was great.
Excellent.
And we spent the New Year's together, which was awesome. So
Nice.
it's just been a
now,
great
did you have to
start
work on New
the
Year's Eve? Were you hospital
We-
bound on New Year's Eve,
our
or
off-
did you actually get the day off?
No, our
to go?
office was open
Yep.
on Christmas Eve because Christmas Eve was on a Monday.
Monday,
Yes, and
Yeah,
so was
New
New
Year's
Year's
Eve
Eve, both.
Yeah, so we were open. We were in the office. I mean, we kind of sent people home towards the
Yeah,
later in
towards the end of the day.
afternoon.
Yeah,
Light
yeah.
schedule.
Yeah.
We tried to keep it light.
Yeah.
Although when people have a cold
When
or
they're
the
sick,
flu,
they're sick. I
they gotta
know.
come see
I
the
know.
doctor.
A lot
So-
of stuff.
Or the norovirus, which you hear is going around.
We're gonna talk about all of
so
that.
so we tried we tried.
Yes.
We were around. We were in town, which was awesome. And then
Nice.
we were open just to kind of continue to see people. So
Yeah.
we stayed busy.
Well, listen,
this year.
I have a present for the girls.
Oh, awesome.
So Pete and I worked on New Year's Eve
Yes.
for the first night for the 350th anniversary, Westfield's 350th anniversary first night. We were doing WSKB duties at the Children's Museum.
Awesome.
So we had a lot of fun with a lot of children, with a lot of families, and a
cool.
lot of grandparents too. It was absolutely
You
wonderful.
missed her disco dancing.
Yes, Gary
No,
and I
no
actually
lie.
got up and yes, because Pete was playing. Well, explain to Dr. Lovelace what you were doing musically, what we were playing, Pete.
So I do 100 songs. So I did the top 20 from 69, 79, 89, 99, 09.
Oh wow.
So the top 20, and then all the 20s, all the 19s,
Uh-huh.
counting up to ones.
and that corresponded to the
So 79.
350th because that was the 300th anniversary
Was 69.
Was 69. So we started with 69 and
So when I was
did
playing
top
the
10 songs.
70s, now all of a sudden
there we
you're
go.
playing that
Yes.
5-decade progression every
go.
slot. So
Right. So I believe it was Gloria Gaynor's "I Will Survive" that we got up.
Was there a Bee Gees
or was
song?
it a Bee
I
Gees?
think
Was
it
it
was the Bee
"Staying
Gees.
Alive"? It was one of the two of them. I can't remember which
Yeah.
one.
I will
but
survive always.
all I know is
Always
that
sustain
the
the
music
party.
came on and Gary
Couldn't help
jumped up
yourself.
and he said, because we discoed our way through college in the 70s. So
Well,
we
I
had
had
a lot
my
of
light
fun.
rig there, so the
Yeah,
lights
I
are
mean, he
flashing
had the
and-
lights were flashing, and the kids were having a ball. But anyway, we were giving away, and our table was like a big hit. So we were giving away these light up rings.
Oh, those are beautiful.
And you can turn them on and off. There's a little button
Oh,
down
good.
here.
There's an off button.
Yeah, there's an off button.
Yes.
So I
Love that.
scarfed up 2 for the
Thank
girls.
you so much.
So there you are in celebration of Westfield's
Ooh.
350th.
That's awesome.
So I want to be their
you.
favorite radio host,
Oh,
So
by
I'm,
far you are.
Yeah. So there you go.
By far you
So
are.
we are. So we were rocking and rolling on New Year's Eve, and the fireworks were amazing. Even though it was raining out, the fireworks were they were spectacular. I was really speechless because I was not expecting what we got. I
Yeah.
was expecting it's New Year's Eve. You're going to get a few little, boom, boom, booms, and that's it. These were like beautiful. And not only were they, first of all, they were a lot of people commented on the length of the fireworks. Like they
It was
went on
supposed
for
to be
about
12 minutes.
Well, it went on for about 20.
Now it's like 15.
You think like 15? Okay.
No, I know because I played 4 songs.
Because you
It was
played
15.
songs. I know. Well, yeah,
They didn't
exactly.
expect it to be a soundtrack. They just expected fireworks. I'm like, you're giving me
No.
a speaker that's playing out into the field. I'm
Yeah.
going to play music.
So
Dude,
Pete
that's
had music
awesome.
going, but the thing that I loved about the fireworks was there were a lot of silver and gold and red, and they were very New Year's Eve glitzy, as opposed to like red, white, and blue,
Yeah.
which would be appropriate for the 4th of July. But these were New Year's Eve fireworks. So kudos to Harry Rock and the 350th
Yeah.
committee, because that was so great. And I have to tell you this too. So they're doing the 350th committee is doing a lecture series.
Tonight.
Yeah, well, let me tell you about this. So they've been doing a whole series of different, Westfield historical kinds of things, and the attendance has been phenomenal. I mean,
Right.
they
had to
did
move
one.
everything out of the Athenaeum.
Right, they did one here, and they had like 200 people. They thought
No,
they were
they
going to
had
have like
300.
300.
Yeah.
And then they did the one at the church, and they
Right.
had like
400.
people. Well,
They filled the church.
Bruce Cordes did one at the senior center yesterday
Right,
on the
which he-
Whips of Westfield because we had arranged this actually quite a while ago, because he said, I think the seniors would be interested, but a lot of them don't drive at night, and all of the lecture series is at night. So we did it at the senior center, and we had almost 100 people yesterday in the afternoon. People were coming in saying, "What's going on here today? There's no parking. You can't get a parking space." And so yeah, it was spectacular.
He's supposed to repeat that at night too, towards the end of the
Yes.
series, because when he was in the
He
hospital,
was scheduled, and then he had to have surgery. when
Right.
he was scheduled. Yeah, so they'll redo that one. But
But tonight's
It was
the
wonderful.
Canals of Westfield. That's going to be packed.
no, where's that one?
They moved everything that was supposed to be the Athenaeum back to the First Church.
Okay.
So because we need the space.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, just
So Kenny-
amazing.
and we're
so good stuff.
We're recording all of them, and they're going up on the 350 website, and I'm airing them too.
Beautiful. I am just
That's awesome.
amazed, especially during the winter. It's dark, it's cold. You'd think people would say, yeah, it would be interesting, but I don't really feel like going. They are just coming out.
Yep.
This is just amazing.
That's
it's
great.
really, really wonderful. So a lot of local history. So, all right, it is 6:29. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our break, and when we come back, so the topic for today, right, Dr. Lovelace, is going to be the flu and colds and
Yeah, I think that's right there. I
treatments.
think
We
the
are
difference
right. Yeah, we're in
between
the middle of
two,
all of this
I
stuff.
think we need to talk about those two things in particular. I think that'd be a great idea.
Okay, so we're going to do that. So to introduce this topic, we're going to listen to the Bee Gees singing "Night Fever."
On the wing of the air, there is nothing out there.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Friday mornings is something different on 89.5 FM. It's JP's Talk About Town.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:34. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses. It is Wednesday, January 16th. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. I'm joined this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning. And on time this week.
And on time this week. Yeah, we had a little snafu last week, but that's okay. And our resident primary care physician from Family Medicine Associates in Westfield, Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, joins us each month. So welcome, Dr. Lovelace.
Hey, good morning.
All right, so we have a lot of people in Westfield and the surrounding areas who have been sick, are worried about getting sick. So we've got all kinds of stuff going on. What are you seeing in the office?
We're seeing everything.
Okay.
I think
we're seeing it all.
I think, well, number one, I think because of the new year, a lot of people are trying to avoid coming to the doctor.
Okay.
Because typically a lot of times their deductibles.
Oh, they're deductibles.
So that's been a big deal at the moment. So with that said, it's important to really be able to know when is it absolutely a must to come see the doctor if you're having cold-like symptoms, or when you could kind of maybe muscle through. Yeah. And I think the thing we should kind of just start to review at the moment is the difference between having influenza or the flu versus just having a common cold.
Okay.
And I think the first thing we should start with is just to talk about the cold, right? So when you have the cold is probably the most frequent and the most common illness in the industrialized world.
Okay.
The main reason is usually because there's so many different types of bugs that can cause a cold. And when I mean bugs, I mean viruses.
Okay.
There's about 200 different types.
Wow.
Rhinovirus. So that's typically the one that we typically see 30 to 50% of the time. So rhinovirus is usually the most common culprit that will cause a common cold.
All right.
What are the symptoms? Typically the symptoms usually start with nasal congestion and maybe a sore throat. Mm-hmm. What is uncommon is a fever.
Okay.
And let's keep that in mind because it's a very important differentiation between what we're going to talk about.
All right.
Typically, these symptoms start with you'll have stuffiness in your nose, scratchy throat, maybe a cough,
a little postnasal drip to make you cough.
Postnasal drip, right? So those are some key things. Now, a lot of times people will want to talk about the type of discharge that's coming from their nose. Yes. And I always think that's fascinating. But it really has no clinical relevance. Just to break it to you. No, it doesn't.
People will say it's clear, it's not.
It's orange, it's purple, it's green, it's whatever. And honestly, it makes no real difference in regards to a common cold because it doesn't tell us anything. Well, all it's really saying is just your body makes a certain specific color of mucus and mine makes a different color of mucus. And that's pretty much it. Okay. But when it has no bearing on whether or not you need an antibiotic or not, number one. So I want people to just keep that in mind.
Because I think
for the common cold.
For the common cold. I think that people feel like the color of mucus discharge has to do with whether or not it might be a sinus infection. I think that's where that comes in, where they're feeling like I need to let my doctor know that because if it's a sinus infection, then I would need an antibiotic.
That's a different story.
Let's go
back to that because what I'm saying is the following: a common cold presents with nasal congestion, right? Okay. So let's just put that in perspective, right? You have nasal congestion. If you're going to have nasal congestion, there's going to be a discharge.
Yes.
Period. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Dying yourself, you can develop over time what's called rhinosinusitis, which means that the viral infection has affected a good or bigger portion of your sinuses. So you would have pressure in your face. If it gets really bad, maybe it's some changes in your vision, or tooth pain.
Yeah.
But the primary thing is that you're going to have some things going on in your sinuses if you have a cold.
Sure.
And you don't necessarily need to reach for an antibiotic. And even if you do have signs that are consistent with sinusitis, which a lot of people want to talk about, it usually resolves on its own, and you don't need an antibiotic.
Yes.
That's a sinus inflammation.
Correct. So your sinuses will be inflamed from having a cold. That's something to be expected because typically the common cold symptoms start where? They start in your nose, right?
Yes.
You're going to have nasal discharge. So the initial thought is that, well, I have discharge from my nose. I must have sinusitis. I need an antibiotic. No. You don't need that. What should happen is you should say, oh, wait, well, do I have a fever?
Yes.
Right? And I'm going to keep reiterating that. Do I have a fever? If you do not have a fever, more than likely, friend, you're going to be okay and you're going to be fine.
Okay.
What typically happens, though, is that usually you'll have nasal congestion. Then after that, you might even have a sore throat. Then all of a sudden, it could seem to progress. Typically, with any common cold, it can last anywhere between 3 to 10 days.
Yep.
So there's an incubation period, meaning there's a time in which you can have it and it just kind of develops in your body. But over time, it should wear away on its own. Let's also talk about modes of transmission. So how do you get a common cold? You typically get a common cold from touching objects, right?
Okay.
So we're not washing our hands, of all things, right? We are not aware of the fact that any surface that we put our hands on, especially this time of year, it usually has somebody's virus. That's why it's so important. You know, hand sanitizer is fine. I'm okay with that. But just wash your hands, right?
Yes.
Like that is the big common misnomer. Shaking hands when you see people. I mean, there are some people who don't want to shake your hand. I get that. Especially this time of year. Yeah, you definitely want to be conscious of it because even a simple handshake can lead to you having a cold. What things do
Because
we...
you rub your eyes or something like that, and now you got an instant ingress.
Or you eat a meal.
Yeah, I was going to say, or you eat something,
you're-
have some
you-
potato
you-
chips
you-
or something.
You just pick up that donut at work, or you pick up that pizza that they had for lunch, and you didn't think about that. You said hi to Bill, and you shook hands, and you kept it going. 2 days later, you're sick, and you don't know why, and you want to possibly blame it on the fact that you were on an airplane, or you were no. You actually just rubbed up against something, and that's why you got it. A lot of other times, people tend to think that cold air or being out in the cold actually causes a cold. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
There has been no real evidence that suggests that there's a combination between the two. However, cold air can really
Dry your skin.
dry your skin out, right? So it can dry you out a bit, and that usually causes a response for a lot of people that makes them feel really crummy. Now, the one other thing I want to reiterate is the fact that a common cold can then subsequently develop into sinusitis, right? Like, so that is a complication of having an untreated common cold. So the things that you definitely want to do moving forward is making sure that you're doing all the things possible to help with your nasal congestion. Because if you don't address your nasal congestion, those nasal blockages could then be a breeding ground for you developing sinusitis. A lot of other people,
over it.
a lot of other people also develop ear infections, right? So those are some other
that is
common
the other
things.
complication.
So you'll have issues with your ear. So there'll be ear pain and ongoing sinusitis. And I think those are the key things to look into when we're dealing with having a cold.
Okay. So a cold. So often starts scratchy throat. Obviously, a lot of congestion. I mean, I think the cough develops, and I was sick a couple of weeks ago, and there is, sort of that little bit of that postnasal drippy type stuff that, seems to be where the cough comes from.
Correct. And so the key thing in the scenario is really just to continue to treat your symptoms. Now, the flu.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the flu.
Okay.
And so the biggest concern that I have with the flu is the following. A lot of times people will say, well, I had the flu. And I'll say, well, how long did you have it for? Oh, I've had it for a couple of weeks. That's probably not the flu per se. When we're talking about the flu from a medical standpoint, we're actually talking about influenza. Influenza, there are two main types that we typically see, or they're caused by a virus, but it's called the influenza A or influenza B virus. There's a specific virus it's associated with. And this one is different in its presentation. A lot of times when you first get the flu, you get muscle aches and fever.
Yeah.
Right? That is like a key thing that I want everyone to kind of understand.
I think, I hear people say, I feel like I got hit by a truck.
Correct.
That's all that muscle stuff.
Correct. So that muscle stuff is a really important sign to pay attention to, and fever. And I ask people, do you have a thermometer? And adults should have thermometers because that is a key thing. No, the majority of the time, a lot of adults should not have fevers in the 100s. Like someone said to me, oh, I had a fever of 101 or 101 or 102. That is not a good sign. That is an indication that you probably have the flu. And you definitely want to seek medical attention because the treatment is different if you actually have the flu, and the diagnosis is different.
Versus the common cold.
For the common cold, there's not really anything you need to there's not a study or a test that you need to do.
Right.
What they do a lot of times if you're in a hospital setting is they will try to figure out which flu virus it is, and they'll swab your nose. But in the outpatient setting, there's no reason for that. Okay. However, when we're talking about influenza, there is a way to confirm whether or not you actually have it or not, and there's actually a treatment. And the treatment to be given needs to be given within roughly 48 to 72 hours if possible. And we should probably also treat the members in your house.
Yes. Okay.
Because they've probably been exposed.
Correct.
Yeah.
The problem and the difference is that when we're talking about influenza can have an outbreak. Common colds typically don't have outbreaks.
Okay.
They're everywhere. The common cold's everywhere.
I mean, the average person, depending upon how your immune system responds to things, typically someone can have a cold at least 2 to 3 times a year, right? Yep. Like that's to be expected.
Yep.
Some people just battle it a little bit more. Some people deal with it a little bit less. A lot of times it has a lot to do with exposure.
Yes.
I had someone come to see me who's now working in the school system again. And she's noticed that she's gotten sick more often. And I really said, I have nothing for you, but you just have to just kind of muscle through it just because you're just being exposed to more common colds than the average adult at this stage in their life, simply because kids kind of they share a lot of stuff, and that's what happens.
My ex-wife used to run a daycare center.
Yes. So let
me ask you this, though, to just kind of dovetail on what you just said, Dr. Lovelace. So if somebody, because I kind of found that too, I worked in nursing homes for many years, and I think initially I felt like I caught everything that came around, and then I just got to a period where I didn't get anything. I mean, does your body kind of build up, if for teachers or, paraprofessionals, whoever's working in the schools, does your body kind of get used to that after a while and sort of have a better chance of fighting things off?
If you have the ability, well, I want to say yes, and here's why. Typically, when we're doing training, especially for early young doctors or any type of healthcare professionals who are doing any type of pediatric kind of work, we typically always tell them, and we say, listen, if this is your first day on the job or first month, you're going to feel crummy and you're going to feel sick. Okay. But then over time, you're going to feel better, and simply because your exposure, right? Okay. You're exposed to these common colds or these common viruses. Remember, there are over 200 different types of viruses that can cause a common cold, and so when your body is being exposed to them in little amounts, it makes the difference. And what do we call that? We call it herd immunity, right? We call it herd immunity, and the reason is because what happens is even though I may not have had the cold and you had the cold, you have now gotten over the cold, and the fact that we're in close proximity, we sometimes share those antibodies. Like we share that type of that defense system, and so that's why it's so important. That's why we try to get everyone vaccinated. It's not just about you, it's about the community, and so that is the main difference. And so to answer your question, yes, you do find that for those who work in it more often and more frequently, they aren't sick as much, typically because they're exposed to it more frequently. And so even if they felt a little bit crummy for a day, they get over it a lot faster.
Right. Their body's kind of getting a little bit more used to it.
Correct.
All right. It is 6:47. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses. My guest this morning is Dr. Akinyele Lovelace. Our topic is the cold versus the flu, and what do we do about it, and symptoms and treatments and so forth. And so our next song, of course, has to be Rockin' Pneumonia and the Boogie Woogie Flu.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Commercial Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its third generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Plasek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Friday mornings is something different on 89.5 FM. It's JP's Talk About Town.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:52. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses. It is Wednesday, January 16th. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm joined this morning by producer Pete Coles, the chairman of the board over there. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
And our resident primary care physician, Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, with Family Medicine Associates here in Westfield. Good morning again, Dr. Lovelace.
Good morning.
So you are in that pretty pink building on Route 20,
Yes, I am.
The one that looks like it's right out of Miami. There you go. All right. So we're talking about the cold versus flu symptoms. What are some of the, let's say somebody does have the flu. They've got the fever. They felt like they were hit by a truck. They've got all the, the sore throat and the congestion and all that other good stuff. What do they do? What's the best course of action? Other than please don't go to work. Seriously.
The best course of action starting off is definitely get your temperature down if you have a temperature. So
okay.
I want you to monitor your temperature.
Okay. So take it how frequently? Like every couple hours?
Every couple of hours.
Okay.
I mean, the ideal thing is from a symptom standpoint.
Yes.
You definitely want to stay plenty hydrated, so
yes.
you want to drink plenty of fluids.
Okay.
If you're not on a fluid restriction, you want to get your fever down. So if you notice that you've had a fever, Tylenol, ibuprofen, if you can take any one of those things, that would be ideal.
Okay.
If you're noticing that even after you've taken Tylenol or ibuprofen, you're still having a fever, even after it's worn off, if you've noticed it over the past 24 hours, it would be ideal to seek medical attention.
Okay, so that's a case, because that's one of the things that we did want to talk about was, how do I know? Because people ask me, I woke up one day a couple of weeks ago feeling like I got hit by a truck, but no fever. That was interesting. I had the nasal congestion. I've had, I was so tired. I slept for like 18 hours straight, and then really felt not 100% better, but quite a bit better. But people said to me, "Did you go to the doctor?" And I said no, because I didn't really feel it was necessary. I mean, I stayed in bed. I drank lots of fluids. I had lots and lots of water. So every time I woke up, I was sipping water. And I said, I felt a lot better after I slept for a long time. And then I was just, tired and, feeling generally kind of crummy for the next week or so, but better each day, like a little bit better each day.
Right. And so, and that's a good thing. I would recommend the following. There are those who are at high risk.
Yes.
Right. And those are the ones who really need to consider medical attention. Who is at high risk?
Yeah, define high risk for us.
If you're over the age, well, number one, if you're having a fever and you've had a fever and it's not going away with any type of ibuprofen or Tylenol, and you're over the age of 65, number one, you probably need to call your doctor.
Okay.
Or seek medical attention. Or if you're 2 weeks postpartum, so if you just had a baby.
Okay.
Or if you are someone who has asthma, liver disease, diabetes, kidney disease, if you have a chronic condition where that can kind of affect your response to any type of insult, such as having a viral issue, you probably should seek medical attention, because your risk of developing pneumonia is extremely high. And so that's why we are so obsessed sometimes with making sure that a lot of our patients get the flu shot. Now, I know people are always going to tell me, there's going to be one or two people that are going to tell me they don't get the flu shot because it makes them sicker. And I say, okay, that's fine. However, did you end up being hospitalized this year? The answer is no. Then the flu shot did its job, right?
Okay.
If you feel crummy for 2 or 3 days after getting the flu shot, that should happen because your body's actually having that normal response to your body creating new antibodies or creating helper cells in your body to help you fight that infection. If you, for some apparent reason, decide not to get the flu shot, your risk for being hospitalized for pneumonia goes up tremendously. And that is a cost, right? Like, that's a cost. That's hours lost from work. That's hours spent being in a hospital. That's time that you may not get to spend with your loved ones. And so if you're one of those people who have a chronic illness, I would definitely encourage you to get a flu shot when it's available. And take into account that if you do not, the risk for pneumonia. So what is pneumonia? Pneumonia is when you actually have an infection in your lungs, right? So now you've gotten to the point where you've gotten past the point where you just had a little bit of a sore throat and a fever. Now you probably have some heaviness in your chest, or you have a cough, or you've noticed that when you walk just simply to the bathroom, it's really, really hard to breathe. Or maybe you have some right-sided chest pain. Like, those are all signs of you possibly or potentially developing a lung infection, and that's what pneumonia is. And it can be caused by the flu or a virus. It can also be caused by a bacterial infection. So you can subsequently develop a bacterial infection on top of having the flu if you don't get these symptoms addressed, and especially if you're at high risk.
So if somebody were to come in to see you, Dr. Lovelace, with the flu, with flu-like symptoms, and you wanted to prevent pneumonia and obviously treat the flu, what do you do? What would
the key
what would
things
the treatment be?
You definitely want to confirm that they have influenza.
Okay,
right?
and
So
you can do that. How do you do that? What's the
that's-
test? Is
that's
it like
a nasal swab?
It's a nasal swab.
Right, so
okay.
that's a nasal swab, and that'll be able to tell us what type of flu bug it is.
Okay.
So initially, if we did our due diligence and you were able to be seen within 24 to 48 hours, we would actually treat you prophylactically with Tamiflu, or the medicine that you can use to treat influenza.
Okay.
Right? And that would be a treatment that you would start. We would just start you on it.
And is that what is it?
It's
a pill?
a pill.
Oh, okay, so that's
It's a pill. It's a pill, and we would start you on that immediately, or at least
Okay.
give you the prescription for it. If you are positive for it, we'd also treat anyone in your household.
Okay.
Or we would have you talk, or if anyone in your household
As
has
a preventative
doctor,
measure.
they need to be treated also, because we're trying to prevent an outbreak, and so that's what you'd want to do. After that, we would want to make sure that after you've completed the course of the antiviral, that you feel better, or that your symptoms have resolved, or that your fever has resolved.
Yeah.
So that is the key thing. Now, if we find that after that 5-day course, you're still not better, or you don't feel so hot, we need to see you back. And the next thing that should be done potentially is a chest x-ray to confirm, to make sure that you've not developed a pneumonia. Okay. And so then we have to take into account that you may need an antibiotic, or you may need further testing to see why you have not cleared this insult that's occurred to your body. So it's definitely a stepwise approach that we take when trying to manage someone who potentially has the flu and the complications associated with it, especially if you're over the age of 65, you have a heart condition, you have diabetes, you have kidney disease, liver disease. Even if you have a BMI over 40, you are at increased risk. So these are all key things that we take into account when treating an older population.
Okay, and now let me ask you this. When is somebody the most contagious?
When they're having fever.
Okay.
If you're having fever, you're contagious.
Okay.
Period.
All right.
Sweating out of your pores, things like that. The virus is coming out of everywhere, right?
Well, the virus is coming out of... So, great question. Where is it coming from? It's actually coming from your lungs. It's coming out of your mouth. So
Okay.
it's in the air. So you cough, you sneeze. It is all within the air. So that's why a lot of times in a controlled environment setting, such as a hospital or a nursing home or any other type of controlled setting, they typically will have patients wear masks.
Yes.
And the mask is to prevent those droplets from seeding into the air and floating around and you inhaling that. And that's how you actually catch the flu. You catch the flu by how it floats in the air, as opposed to the common cold where you could just pick it up off the table.
So flu doesn't do very well on a surface.
Flu doesn't do no. I mean, for you to catch it, flu.
No, for influenza is a virus, and viruses do well on like common cold would do well on a surface, right?
We found yes.
Influenza does very well in waterborne or airborne, right?
Correct, and that's the key thing to keep in mind. Okay. We found that the common cold can be on surfaces for up to like 2 to 3 days, believe it or not. When it comes to the flu, no, it usually is just in the air, and that's pretty much it. So that's why you definitely want to make sure that if someone is having fever and coughing around you and sneezing and everything else is coming out of their orifice, you want to keep in mind that they're at risk for spreading it to other people, and so that, to your point, stay at home.
Yeah, please.
An adult of any age who's having high fevers should probably do their due diligence to stay at home, because you probably have something that's contagious.
If you have a case of the flu in the house and you're being treated, would it be advantageous to maybe go buy a pair of nitrite gloves or something like that? So if you're cleaning a bathroom or something like that,
that'd be ideal. I mean, that would be ideal because
they're not that expensive.
No, they're not that expensive, and I think that would be, especially if you've got multiple family members, you've got maybe an older adult, maybe you have a young child in the home. I think that would be ideal to try to
limit your exposure.
Limit your exposure as much as possible.
Don't go nuts about it, but
no,
it's not a bad thing.
It's a great idea because you are actively giving off this virus if you are confirmed to have the flu.
Okay, I want to circle back because we're running out of time here, but I just want to circle back to one specific that I want to kind of pin down for our listeners. So, because you've talked a lot about fever, we kept coming back to fever. Let's define fever, say, versus when do we need to be concerned in a child versus an adult versus an older adult? Can you give us some numbers here? I mean, what's a typical temperature, normal temperature?
100.1
for fever.
100.1, right?
100.1 is
fever.
Okay, so that's fever.
Because your normal body temperature is what?
Usually it's going to be around between like 97, 98 in that range, right?
Okay.
So now for children, right? For younger children can have fevers up to the 103s, 104s, which is extremely impressive. Older adults, because you make a great point, older adults sometimes can't mount a high fever. Mm-hmm. And that's what can be misleading sometimes. So if you have an older adult whose temperature, maybe their temperature's like 99.6, 99.5, right? Like those are the times where we want to say, well, especially if you're later in years, sometimes your immune system can't mount such a fever response, right? Because the fever is just your body's way of trying to fight infection.
Exactly.
So if I have an older adult who has a temperature, let's say it's like 99.5 or even 99 to say that at the moment, I'm going to be a little bit more suspicious of them having flu-like symptoms and may want to treat them a little bit more aggressively, just because I know that as an older adult, you may not be able to mount that fever response that we normally see. Okay. So if you're an older adult and your temperature is usually 97, maybe even 96, and you walk in with a 99, I'm going to consider that as a fever in an outpatient setting.
Okay. And for children, generally,
it's 100.1.
It's higher. I know. Mine was 103, 104.
They'll come in at 104, 105, and you're like, oh my God, how are they still alive? And then you see an older adult, if they come in with a temperature of 103, 104, they need to go to the hospital.
They're in the hospital.
You need to go to the hospital. So that's the key difference.
I think that's just helpful for people to have some numbers.
Yes,
Dr. Lovelace, because otherwise, I remember my mother as kids, we ran very high fever. So 101, 102, my mother was like, that's nothing. Right. 103, 104, that was kind of typical for us. Again, you have to kind of, it's like, it's sort of like blood pressure. You have to know what's normal for you as well, what's, sort of typical.
And what I would say is that if you're an adult and you have a temperature over 100.1, you need to start doing something about it. Okay. Like you need to start moving.
Consider that fever.
You need to consider that fever, and you need to be seen. So if you have a temperature that has 3 digits, it's time to go see someone and start getting it down, because bad things can happen after that.
Okay. And you know what I'm thinking? So we're going to wrap it up for today, but I'm thinking maybe next month that we really sort of need to delve into the whole topic of pneummonia a little bit more and do that and talk about, exactly what it is, different types, what do you do, why is it dangerous?
Correct.
I know there's a pneumonia vaccine now, how effective. So we can talk about all of that. All right. So we're going to talk about pneumonia next month.
Great idea.
Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, thank you so much for being here. You can give those little gifties to the girls for me. It is 7:05. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the West
WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Wednesday mornings from 6 till 8, it's Tina Gorman with Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:09. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM. Radio for the Westfield masses. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So we've just been schooled on the difference between the common cold and influenza.
Thing is, common cold, just don't rush to your doctors. You can process that out on your own. If it is the flu and you present with it, fever is usually a bad thing. I mean, Gary talks about it when he comes in here.
He does, but as Gary said, fever there's a purpose for a fever.
Right.
That's your body's natural mechanism for trying to get everything under control.
Fighting something.
Exactly.
And if it's prolonged, that's when you start getting worried about it. And I think that we got the same message echoed on the medical side of it.
For sure. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about some upcoming programs at the Senior Center. But before I do that, I have to talk about a program that we started, and I didn't have time to talk about it last week, which was okay because I want to devote a little bit of time to this. This is a program called Heaven's Angels, and the gist of this is that a woman by the name of Michelle Moniz came to me and Mary Lou Najalski, our program director at the Senior Center, a couple of months ago, and she told us about this program. She said, I don't know if you've heard about it. We had not. It's a national program with chapters, sort of all over the country. And what the project is that people, men and women, primarily women, but both obviously can do this, take wedding gowns, they deconstruct the wedding gowns, and then they sew gowns for infants who either are born stillborn, die shortly after birth in the neonatal care unit, some tragedy where the baby does not make it home from the hospital. And it was really interesting, Pete, because I was talking about this with some of the seniors yesterday, and they were saying what I already knew, which was that in the old days when they were young, so 60 years ago, 70 years ago, I was talking to women in their 80s. Mm-hmm. In the old days, they said, it was fairly common. I mean, women had miscarriages, babies were stillborn, babies didn't survive, for a whole host of reasons.
Sure.
But the policy of the hospital was, especially if the baby was stillborn, the mother never saw the baby. The baby would be whisked away,
right,
and that was it. So there was not really sort of that grieving period. Now, many states have laws, including Massachusetts, where the parents have to have the option if they want to hold the baby, whatever. So getting back to our project here, this Heaven's Angels, and sort of having something to put the baby into, sort of let the parents hold baby.
Sure,
so that's the whole idea behind this. And the problem is that in many cases they're so tiny, just a few pounds, that, the hospitals need something to put the babies in. So that was the birth of this program. And I don't know who started this, and I'm not sure how many years ago it started. There's a lot of information online. If you go online, there are all kinds of testimonials from women who had this happen to them, and just talking about the fact that, it gives them closure, and having their baby sort of presented to them in, this beautiful white gown that is clearly, they're handmade and, with lace and they're, just beautiful. And they talked about that. So anyway, that's the gist of the project. So Michelle had come to Mary Lou and me and said she had a small group of women that were interested in this. They had gotten together one time And I don't remember where they got together. Somebody had, kind of said, well, you can use our office space or whatever. It was less than ideal, and it really wasn't big enough. So they were looking for a space, and somebody suggested to Michelle, who's young herself, why don't you, check the senior center? So she came to us, and we, did a little tour, and we looked at different rooms and so forth, and kind of talked to her about what she needed. I mean, they need a lot of tables, and she said people can bring their own portable sewing machines. And as you and I had talked last week, Pete, you don't necessarily have to sew in order to participate in this program.
Right. Any help is helpful.
Exactly. There are lots of things that need to be done. The wedding gowns need to be deconstructed, which is, it's painstakingly time consuming because you're using a stitch ripper because you want to save as much of the fabric as you can. There's patterns that have to be drawn and cut out, ironing that needs to be done. So none of those are sewing jobs. Those are all jobs that, if you just have an interest in helping, you can do it. So anyway, we decided to have our first session in early January. And we just said to Michelle, we'll put it in our newsletter. We'll do signups just so that we kind of have a sense of how many people. So I think this is the first time in our history, Pete, we had 15 people sign up, and we had 15 people there on the day of. Usually somebody gets sick, somebody changes their mind, somebody says, well, it's not really what I thought it was going to be. So we had them upstairs in the multipurpose room, and I helped Michelle, and I think her mom was there, and I think her daughter were participating and kind of setting things up. And we set it up in the best way that she, again, not quite knowing how many were going to come. And it was probably the most meaningful. It was the most meaningful program we have done since we opened up the new senior center. It was an entire afternoon. Michelle got there at 12:30, and those women were sewing until 4:30 in the afternoon, and ironing and deconstructing and doing all those great things. The thing that was amazing was I kept going up about every 20 minutes or so just to check and see if they needed anything or, whatever. First of all, people had donated wedding gowns. So we put the article in our newsletter. We didn't ask for wedding gowns. We just said, this is what happens. And we had people calling us saying, do you need wedding gown donations? Which we'll always take those. So we had, I think, 4 gown donations, which Michelle did not expect. She had I think 1 or 2 that somebody, that she brought. So I said, we got gowns for you. And she said what was really great was that people just kind of paired off. The couple of women paired together and started doing the deconstruction. And then you had the people who brought their machines or sewing machines, and they were doing the sewing. And a couple of people who paired up to do the tracing patterns. And she had the patterns there. So she has several different patterns. And then there was one woman who was doing kind of all the trim work. So after the gowns were sewn, she was, doing the lace and the ribbon and so forth. And it was just, and there was just, there were white wedding gowns kind of all over the room, which take up a lot of space. So it was really interesting because about 3:30 maybe, somebody came downstairs, and Michelle came downstairs, and she said one of the women had to leave a little early, and she wanted to know, are we going to do this again? When are we going to do it? And she said everybody was so enthusiastic that, we want to set it up.
Sure, yeah.
So we worked it out. So we're going to do it once a month. It'll be I think we decided on the first, what did we decide on? The first something of the month. I don't remember. I think it's the first Monday of the month. Yeah, that sounds right. Yes, I believe that's right. The first Monday of the month in the afternoon. And initially what we're going to do is put them this coming month, the next couple of months, we're going to put them in the great room because the multipurpose room is being used on Mondays by the tax people. But, quite honestly, Pete, I told Mary Lou, I think they're going to outgrow the multipurpose room anyway because, they had all of those people were so enthusiastic about coming back. And then there are other people as they're hearing about it.
Or seeing them in the great room now.
Yes. Well, that's it too. So, yep, absolutely. So we're going to set that up. So it'll be the first Monday of the month. It'll be from 1 to 4:30 in the afternoon. If you would like to, participate, I'm putting the article again in the February newsletter. So that will be coming out in about a week and a half. So just an amazing thing. And I came downstairs at one point and I said to my staff members, you need to go upstairs. You need to just poke your head in the room and look at what's happening. Because if you forget our purpose and why we're here, and community involvement, I said you need to see this. This is the good stuff. This is the positive stuff. And I actually also sent up some of the seniors for the same reason. Especially the ones who are never quite sure if we're doing enough for them. So I said, you need to just go upstairs. And it was a wonderful, wonderful group. So
cool.
Yeah. So really cool. So we're going to take a short break. And I wanted to do a song for this group, for our Heaven's Angels groups. And I chose Over the Rainbow by Judy Garland. So let's listen to that.
Upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you find me. Somewhere happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow. Why, oh, why can't I?
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com, offering Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Information on all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area is available online at Xfinity.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Wednesday mornings start off right from 6 to 8 a.m. with Tina Gorman and Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:22. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm in studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So let's talk about some famous birthdays, people born on January 16th. So today is the birthday of Debbie Allen. Dancer, choreographer, actress, director. She was born January 16th, 1950 in Houston, Texas. She's 69 years old today. Debbie Allen hit it big in 1980, starring in a Broadway revival of West Side Story. Her performance earned her a Tony nomination and landed her a role as a dance instructor in the movie Fame. Do you remember that? Oh, my mother loved that show.
Actually, more of the TV show than the movie.
Yeah, my mom loved the TV show. The film evolved into a successful television spinoff in 1982, in which Debbie Allen co-starred and won 3 Emmy Awards for choreography. In 2001, she opened up the Debbie Allen Dance Academy in Los Angeles. She also made other appearances on television, starring in the sitcom In the House alongside LL Cool J, and also in Grey's Anatomy from 2005 to 2013. So happy 69th birthday to choreographer and amazing dancer Debbie Allen. I'd be curious to see if she could still dance now at the age of 69, sort of the way she did back in the day.
Probably not.
Probably not quite, but she is a phenomenal dancer. It is also the birthday of Ronnie Milsap, singer, songwriter, pianist. Ronnie was born January 16th, 1943 in Robbinsville, North Carolina. He's 76 years old today. Blind since birth, Ronnie Milsap was raised in a poor farming community and was schooled in classical music at the Moorhead State School for the Blind in Raleigh. In 1972, he moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and in 1973, he signed with RCA Victor. A slew of hit singles followed, including I Hate You, Pure Love, and Please Don't Tell Me How the Story Ends. For the latter single, Milsap was awarded a Grammy for Best Male Country Vocal Performance. In 1981, Milsap recorded Smoky Mountain Rain, which introduced him to a larger audience when it crossed over into the pop charts. In 1986, Milsap won another Best Male Country Vocal Performance Grammy for the album Lost in the 50s Tonight. So happy 76th birthday to Ronnie Milsap, singer, songwriter, and pianist. It is also the birthday of the late Ethel Merman, actress born January 16th, 1908. And she died at the age of 76 in 1984. Ethel Merman was born in Astoria, New York. She's best known as a gutsy, powerful musical comedy performer and remembered for her brassy style and powerful mezzo-soprano voice. She worked as a secretary before making her stage debut in George and Ira Gershwin's Girl Crazy in 1930. In the 1930s, Ethel Merman made her first Hollywood appearance and also starred in her own radio show. A Broadway favorite, Ethel Merman had show-stopping, successful performances in Anything Goes in 1934, Red Hot and Blue in 1936, Annie Get Your Gun in 1946, Call Me Madam in 1950, and Gypsy in 1959. Ethel Merman also appeared in the successful Hollywood film It's a Mad, 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 Mad World and appeared on numerous television shows. But how about this? She was married and divorced 4 times, including a 32-day marriage to actor Ernest Borgnine. 32 days, 1 month, that was it. Happy birthday to the late, great Ethel Merman. And finally, today, it is the birthday of Diane Fossey, zoologist, scientist, born January 16th, 1932. She died at the very young age of 53 on December 26th, the day after Christmas in 1985. Diane Fossey was born in San Francisco, California. After graduating from San Jose in 1954 with a degree in occupational therapy, Diane Fossey moved to Louisville, Kentucky, where she began serving as director of the Corsair Crippled Children's Hospital's Occupational Therapy Department. Living on a farm on the outskirts of Louisville, Fosse spent many off hours happily attending to the livestock. She became restless, though, longing to see other parts of the world and setting her sights on Africa. She later explained her draw to gorillas in Africa and said it was their individuality combined with the shyness of their behavior that remained the most captivating impression of this first encounter with the greatest of the great apes. In 1967, Diane Fosse established the Karasok Research Foundation in Rwanda's Volcanoes National Park to facilitate the study of mountain gorillas. Considered the world's leading authority on the physiology and behavior of mountain gorillas, Diane Fosse fought hard to protect these gentle giants from environmental and human hazards. She saw these animals as dignified, highly social creatures with individual personalities and strong family relationships. Her active conservationist stand to save these animals from game wardens, zoo poachers, and government officials who wanted to convert gorilla habitats to farmland caused her to fight for the gorillas not only via the media, but also by destroying poachers' dogs and traps. Fosse told her story in the book Gorillas in the Midst in 1983, which was later adapted for a film starring Sigourney Weaver. Tragically, on December 26, 1985, Fosse was found dead, presumably killed by poachers at her Rwandan forest camp. No assailant has ever been found or prosecuted in her murder. So happy birthday to the late Diane Fosse. Did you see that movie, Gorillas in the Mist, Pete? Do you remember that was Sigourney Weaver?
Yep,
I
remember the movie, yeah.
It was an amazing movie, and Sigourney Weaver did a wonderful job. But it really brought, that whole idea of gorillas and families and behaviors and personalities to light, because you really saw that in the film.
Yeah.
They're not just animals that kind of don't have any brains. I mean, really high functioning. If you've never seen it, for those listeners who have never seen it, it's a fascinating movie, and I would highly recommend it.
Yep.
All right, it is 7:29. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield Masses. I think we'll take our half-hour break here. We're going to listen to Ronnie Millsap singing Lost in the 50s tonight. When we come back, we have a couple of national days that we need to talk about.
Close your eyes, baby. Follow my heart. Call on the memories here in the dark. We'll let the magic take us away back to the feelings we shared when they played in the still of the night. Hold me, darling. Hold me tight. Oh, shoot, shoot, so real, so right, lost in the 50s tonight. These precious hours we know can't survive, but love's all that matters while the past is alive. Now and for always, till time disappears, we'll hold each other whenever we hear in the still
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
It's Tuesday morning from 6 till 8. Wow, it's Tuesday with Bob Plass.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:35. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses. It is Wednesday, January 16th. That was such a pretty song by Ronnie Milsap, Lost in the 50s Tonight. You know, if you get the chance to see the video of that, it's very nostalgic, and it just really kind of brought back some nice memories. So good stuff. Happy birthday, Ronnie Milsap. So today, who knew, is, are you ready? National Fig Newton Day. And it's also National Religious Freedom Day. We'll talk about that in a minute. But National Fig Newton Day, very interesting, because whenever I can connect a national day to Massachusetts or Boston or something like that, I always try to do that. Well, here you go, folks. So National Fig Newton Day, I learned something I did not know before. A Nabisco trademarked version of the fig roll. Newtons are a pastry filled with fig paste. Fig Newtons have an unusual shape that is a characteristic which has been adopted by many competitors, including generic fig bars. You know, it's almost like a little pillow.
Yeah.
It was up until the 19th century that many physicians believed that most illnesses were related to digestive problems, and they recommended a daily intake of biscuits and fruit. So the ideal solution to this advice was fig rolls, which remained a locally produced and handmade product. In 1891, Philadelphia baker and fig lover Charles Roser invented and patented the machine which inserted fig paste into a thick pastry dough. Roser's recipe was then purchased by Cambridgeport, Massachusetts-based Kennedy Biscuit Company, and mass production began. So that's how it moved from Philadelphia to Boston.
Okay.
In 1891, the first Fig Newtons were baked at the F.A. Kennedy Steam Bakery. The pastries are named after the town of Newton, Massachusetts.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Who knew? I did not know that. After recently becoming associated, the Kennedy Biscuit Company and the New York Biscuit Company merged to form Nabisco, and the fig rolls were then trademarked as Fig Newtons. So there's your little history of the day.
Yeah.
And but Newton, Massachusetts, who knew? All right, and January 16th is also National Religious Freedom Day. So the President of the United States annually declares January 16th to be National Religious Freedom Day. The goal of this observance is to protect and promote religious expression rights. On January 16th, 1786, the Virginia State Assembly adopted the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom, drafted by Thomas Jefferson in 1777. As a result, the Church of England in Virginia was disestablished, and people of different faiths were granted freedom of religion. Catholics, Protestants, and Jews were all given equal rights to express their religious beliefs. Religious Freedom Day was first proclaimed in 1996 and has been proclaimed every year since then by a statement by the President of the United States. So we'll see if this president does the annual declaration for National Religious Freedom Day. Stay tuned. All right.
I would hope so, because his base is on the religious side of the house.
I would certainly hope so as well, but we shall see.
Although I've seen Yeah, I don't want to get into the politics part, but some of the stunts that both sides are pulling are not amusing to me right now.
We're not going to go there.
No, I know. I'm just saying they're not amusing to me.
No, I know. A lot of people upset.
Yep.
Not the least of whom are the government workers right now.
I know.
And boy, do I feel for the people that are working and not getting paid.
It just goes to prove the fact that I tell you that all those people that are elected at the federal level don't give a flying hoot about all of us.
Yeah. So here's the irony of this one.
That's something we can agree on.
And here's the irony of this one, Pete. So we've got the IRS workers who have been called back to work because we want to make sure people are getting their tax refunds. So the IRS workers the government workers who got called back to work this week in order to help with taxes are not getting paid in order to have the people who are getting their refund get their refunds on time.
Do you know how to solve this? Furlough the security details for 24 hours. It'll get solved.
Okay.
That's how you solve it.
There
Capitol
you go.
Police, you're laid off. Secret Service, go home.
Yeah.
Except for the presidential protective detail, maybe not even that.
No,
just
not
everybody
even that.
go home.
Everybody go home.
And guess
hours.
what?
I agree with you, Pete.
Yeah.
I agree.
24 hours.
We agree on that one. All right. On a less controversial note, let me give you I want to do a few announcements of things around town, and most specifically Christmas tree drop-off locations, because you only have a couple more days for that. And then the snow's going to start flying maybe this weekend. So we'll see about that. But you have until January 18th to drop your Christmas trees off. And I was at City Hall yesterday or the day before, and people are still dropping their trees off, which is wonderful. So I'm going to give you the locations. You have 2 more days to do this. Well, 3, today, tomorrow, and Friday. City Hall, in the back of the parking lot, 7 days, 24 hours. You can drop your tree off there anytime. Hampton Ponds Playground, which is 121 Old Stage Road, 7 days, 24 hours. The Highway Garage DPW at 12 Ponders Hollow Road, 7 a.m. to 2:30 Monday through Friday. Little River Fire Station, which is 366 Little River Road, back parking area, 7 days, 24 hours. The Twist Street Transfer Station, no sticker needed. You can drop your tree only without a sticker, Monday through Friday, 7 to 2:30, Saturday, 7 to 2:30. So actually Monday through Saturday, 7 to 2:30. We'll actually make it Friday because Friday's the last day. Today's the 16th, so you have until the end of the day on Friday to get your Christmas tree dropped off.
Yep.
So very important to do that.
I saw them chipping one of the piles at City Hall.
Yeah, they were doing it the other day. They had the chipper, and it was funny because I saw people dropping their trees, and they had the chipper there going at the same time.
Tossing them right in.
Good stuff. Really
That's
good
why
stuff.
they want no decorations, no tinsel,
Correct.
no nothing.
Yeah, you have to take
chipping.
everything out. Yeah, you have to take everything out because this is all, biodegradable and all that other good
they're
stuff.
They're going to make a wood chip pile.
Yeah, exactly. So make
Compost
sure
pile.
no tinsel, no decorations, no lights, no anything. All right. So I was reading this in, I believe I pulled this out of the Penny Saver. I don't know if you saw this, Dine Out for the Westfield Athenaeum at the Tavern Restaurant. So, I think this is so nice that our local businesses do this. So on January 28th, the Tavern.
My birthday.
The Tavern Restaurant. Is it really?
Yeah.
What day of the week is that?
Monday.
It is?
Yes.
Am I going to be around on a Monday? I think I'm going to be around. Pete, maybe
I'm
I should
I'm coming back from Niagara Falls on that day, but I'll be back for dinner.
Maybe you and I should go out for dinner. I'll take you out and I'll get the coupon. So
okay.
In Westfield, the Tavern Restaurant will graciously donate to the Westfield Athenaeum 10% of orders from customers presenting a Tavern Athenaeum dining out coupon. So the event will take place from 4 to 8 p.m. And the coupons are available at the Athenaeum front desk and also from the Friends of the Athenaeum board members. And the proceeds from this event will help support the Westfield Athenaeum summer programs.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Is it a date?
Email Bill Western. Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I will. All right. So
you know somebody on the board.
I do know somebody on the board. Bill Westerland. He's on our. Oh, actually, I don't know if Bill is on the board anymore for the Athenaeum.
I think he is. On
He
the
used
board.
to be, but I don't know if he still is.
Oh.
I thought the last time he came on to do the artworks thing that he said he was off the board just because he felt like he was starting to spread himself a little too thin.
Oh, okay.
But you know who?
Well, I'm sure
and I don't know if she's still on the board. Kathy Millis, who's on my friend's board for the
I think
Senior
Jane
Center.
Mulligan is too.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll get it. And I'll send Barbara Coleman over to the Athenaeum.
I'll have Paquette bring one in next time he shows up at the studio.
All right. So that's on January 28th. So, but thank you to the Tavern for doing that for the Athenaeum. That's great. Yeah. And then I was also reading this, and I knew halfway through this first paragraph that JPEG Luca was all over this. So, Chicago Total Access. Did you hear about this performance to benefit?
My students are going to be doing a concert video for them.
Awesome. So they are going to be doing a performance to benefit the Westfield Police Auxiliary. That's going to take place on Friday, April 12th at 7:30 at the Westfield Technical Academy Upper Campus Auditorium. Mm-hmm. The funds generated from this event will go a long way to support new equipment for the volunteers of the auxiliary to help keep our community safe during major outdoor events in our city. So things like the parades, our first ever first night.
We can't do as much as we do without them.
Yeah.
We really can't.
Concerts on the Green, the Pumpkin Fest, all of those things. Yeah, we need them. We can't, because our regular police force can't. They can't do all of that stuff.
Right now, they're so short-handed. It's not even funny.
Short-staffed. I know they're working very hard. Chief Camerata is working hard on that. So Chicago Total Access is a music group made up of 10 talented musicians. They've attempted to recreate a slice of the timeless musical catalog of Chicago, as well as stay true to the spirit of the original recordings. So the tickets for the show are available online at www.purplepass.com, and they're also available at Rocky's Ace Hardware in Westfield, or you can call 1-800-316-8559 for your tickets. So again, that's on Friday, April 12th at the Westfield Technical Academy Auditorium. And the only thing that it doesn't say in this article, which we'll have to ask Jay, is I don't know how much the tickets are. It doesn't give a ticket price. Do you have any idea?
That'll be on Purple Pass.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. All right.
I know that I'm involved because I offered to do a concert video. The kids were really excited about it, and the band has approved it. So
great. Yeah, good stuff. I'm excited about it. Gary's going to go wild. He saw Chicago in concert back in the 70s.
Yeah, never got the chance. So.
He probably said it was like one of the best concerts he ever went to. Yeah, they are still touring. All right, so it's 7:45. It's time to take a little break, and we're going to listen to, this is in honor of Debbie Allen's birthday. We're going to listen to the television theme song from Fame.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Commercial Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its third generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Plasek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Discussions of local politics, events, happenings, and miscellany potpourri. Ken's Den, Tuesday, 8 to 10.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:51. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses. It is Wednesday, January 16th. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
So we've been schooled this morning by Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, our resident primary care physician, on colds and flu and trying to stay healthy and what to do if you get a fever. So we've already gone through all of that. Next week, just to let our listeners know, I'm going to have Jen Fernandez is going to be on the show for the second hour. And Jen is from the Thrive program. So we'll be talking a lot about finances.
It's that time of year.
Help. Yeah, exactly. Some stuff about, taxes and tax assistance, which they can offer through the Thrive program. But also some of the other things that they do. I mean, just with helping, with people with budgeting and loans and what if you're getting yourself in over your head with credit cards and all kinds of really good stuff. And, I have learned in my lifetime that this is not just, I used to think it was just young people, like they don't understand money management. It is not just for young people. And we have seen a lot of problems even with older people. And one of the other issues that I've seen with older people is if you have a couple and one of them has handled all the finances and then that person passes on, the person who's left. I've had people say to me, I never wrote a check. My husband did that, or my wife did that, or I didn't pay the bills. I was responsible for this, so I'm not sure how that was all being managed. So anyway, that'll be next week. So a couple of things, speaking of taxes, a couple of announcements about the Senior Center. So we do have our AARP income tax assistance being offered. However, I will tell you.
You sold out yet?
You better call. We are scheduling. We are now at the end of March.
Yeah.
And we only go until, the second week in April. So, Carol Shannon said to me, we are through. I know she just sent out all the letters for March 18th. So that day is full. And I think she's on to the end of March now. So if you would like to have your taxes done at the Senior Center at no cost, it has to be a relatively simple tax return. You need to contact Carol Shannon. Call her. Don't drop by and visit her because she actually needs to do it over the phone. She also updates your My Senior Center information. And if you're not a My Senior Center member, you need to be in order to have your taxes done at our Senior Center. So she'll just fill in the information over the phone. So you want to call Carol at 562-6435. But again, I don't want people to be disappointed. If you want this done, call for the appointment now. You don't have to wait until you get all of your documentation, because if you wait for that, there won't be any appointments left.
Right.
So by the time you make the call, you're not going to get an appointment till the end of March. So you'll have plenty of time to get all the documents. I also want to remind people, because I don't know, we've been so blessed and so lucky with a lack of white stuff coming down from the sky. I know, I don't even want to say the word. But I do want to remind people of our policy in terms of inclement weather closings. The Senior Center follows the same schedule as the city's public schools regarding closure. So if the schools are closed because of a weather event, then the Senior Center is closed as well. If the Westfield schools have a delayed opening, then the Senior Center opens at 11 o'clock, and we do serve lunch if we have a delayed opening. And any of our programs that start at 11 o'clock or later we will hold those programs that were earlier than 11 would either be postponed or canceled, and you would be notified if it is a postponement of when the makeup would be.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Other upcoming events going on at the Senior Center. Whip City Fiber drop-in session will be Tuesday, January 22nd, so that's a week from yesterday, from 10 to 11:30. So if you have questions about the G&E Whip City Fiber, you can get all of your questions answered. If you want to know about cutting the cord and watching television and movies with Westfield's high-speed internet, this is your opportunity to get the information. So that'll be Tuesday, January 22nd, 10 to 11:30, and there will be several representatives from the Westfield Gas and Electric there to explain the process and answer any questions you might have. I also want to remind folks, I just mentioned our My Senior Center. If you move, if you change addresses, if you drop your landline, if you have a new cell phone number, please let us know that so that we can keep your data current on our database, which is the My Senior Center database. And especially important, if you need to or want to change your emergency contact information, or if they change their phone number, if they get a different cell phone, or if they drop their landline, or if they retire and you've given us a work number for them, please make sure that your emergency contact information is updated, because we do have emergencies, not a lot. We keep them to a minimum, but where we have to call 911. And of course, the first thing we're going to want to do is notify your emergency contact. So if we can't get a hold of that person, we can't notify them. Dr. Lovelace mentioned last hour that it is health insurance plan deductible time. So a lot of people have a deductible either for their office visits or for their medications. Certainly, if you have a Medicare drug plan, then you've probably got a deductible in January. So we just want to remind people that you start with a clean slate every January, but just to kind of factor that into your budget, that you may have to pay a deductible on your health insurance, either for your first 1 or 2 office visits, as well as your medications. If so, your pharmacy bill. And then Tuesday, January 29th, we're going to have a really interesting program at the Senior Center. I'm calling it Lucky Penny, ? We have a professional coin dealer who's going to be at the Senior Center.
I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Blair Susi will be there on Tuesday, January 29th at 1 p.m. He's going to talk about coin and currency collecting, the United States Mint, the gold and silver markets, and there you go, right?
1921 Morgan silver dollar in my pocket.
And here's the thing. You can, Blair said, please feel free if you have any coins that you want to bring in and have him look at or review and, kind of give you an assessment of whether or not they're super valuable, not very valuable, whatever.
This is probably just worth the silver content.
Yeah, and he'll tell you that. So he said he'll be happy to do that after he does the presentation. So it should be a really fun afternoon and just a very interactive event. So again, that's going to be Tuesday, January 29th at 1 p.m. I know Gary's got some coin. He used to do some coin collecting way before we got married. I think when he was a kid.
Cool stuff.
He's got a shoebox full of stuff.
And,
we have no
Mine's
idea.
bigger than that. Now I need a bigger container.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. So that'll be on the 29th. And I also want to remind people that our nurse, Mary Ellen Asher, is back after a brief hiatus. She retired full-time from her job and then was hired by Bay State Noble Hospital just to be our Senior Center nurse.
There you go.
So she's there twice a week in the morning, Tuesdays and Fridays, from 9 a.m. to noon. And so we're kind of getting people used to that schedule, so that if you want to see the nurse at the Senior Center, there's no charge for it. Mary Ellen will go over your medications with you. If you have questions about maybe something the doctor or the physician assistant said to you on your last office visit, or you just have questions in general about your health, or you want to have your blood pressure taken. If you are a newly diagnosed diabetic and you have questions about that or any other newly diagnosed something, Mary Ellen is happy to talk to you. So there's a lot of one-to-one education with that. So again, she's there on Tuesdays and Fridays from 9 a.m. to noon, and we'll help you with that whole process. That is it for me this morning, Pete.
I think Joe might have forgot.
Joe Didi from Southwick is usually here the third Wednesday of the month, and Joe is usually Johnny on the spot. He's usually calling Pete at quarter of saying, "Do you want a coffee?"
Now he's running. So Malicious is closed for the winter, and now he's running the food service out at the Blandford ski area.
Oh, so, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they got the contract for that.
Something new for him. Okay.
So they were going to do it last year, but Blandford never opened.
Yes.
So he's out there now. He could be out there.
Could be where that
just went right over.
Could be where Joe.
His phone's probably going off, going, I ain't gonna make it for that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, in the meantime, we have a great selection, a musical selection. Pete, I'm gonna let you explain why you chose this song, because I think this is really cool.
I picked Kyrie Eleison by Mr. Mister.
Yep.
It's a song that I heard in the 80s, and I thought it was a good hit in the 80s.
Oh, it's a great song. Yeah.
And so you tell them the translation, because apparently it's your favorite saying.
It is, Lord have mercy. And on this National Religious Freedom Day, we thought we'd do a little Lord have mercy. That is the translation. So play it, Pete.
Across the sea into my soul, it reaches into where I cannot hide, setting my feet upon the road. My heart is old and holds my memories. My body burns a gem like soft machine is where I find myself again. Kyrie eleison down the road that I must travel. Kyrie eleison through the darkness of the night. Kyrie eleison where I go and will you follow? Kyrie eleison on the highway in the night. Young, I thought of growing old and what my life would mean to me. Would I have followed down my chosen road, or only wish what I could be? Kyrie eleison down the road that I must travel. Kyrie eleison through the darkness of the night.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Noble Hospital, a brand